This is Agriculture Today, and I'm Shelby Varner with the K-State Radio Network. Drew Ricketts, Joe Gerken, and Danny Lindahl from K-State begin today's show with part of their Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast episode, where they discuss wildlife videos using artificial intelligence. K-State canola breeder Mike Stamm keeps the show rolling as he highlights the winter canola crop and why he is feeling confident and hopeful for its season. Ending the show is K-State dairy specialist Mike Brouk, where he looks at the significant growth in the number of dairy cattle in Kansas, increasing from 181,000 at the beginning of the year to 218,000 in November. That and more is coming up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Tuesday show with part of a Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast episode from K-State's Drew Ricketts and Joe Gerken, and they're also joined by their video production specialist, Danny Lindahl.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Fins, Fur, and Feathers, and we have another special guest in the booth with us today. We have Danny Lindahl, who's back. He's been with us before, but he's normally behind the scenes, but he decided to jump on this side of things and talk to us a little bit. So what are you doing here, Danny?
I've noticed a trend lately of a lot of videos that are generated by AI being about wildlife. And so I thought that might be a good thing to bring up to kind of, I guess, warn people that they're out there and they might be kind of coloring your perception of wildlife, and some tips on how to identify the AI videos.
Definitely a good topic. So what kind of videos are you talking about?
There's kind of, from what I can tell, there's like three categories roughly. There are the funny and silly videos that are, to my perception, largely harmless. Maybe not harmless, but not as impactful, I guess. And these are like the animals on trampolines. There's a video of squirrels that was popular, or rabbits. There's videos of animals just being friends, which I guess is kind of anthropomorphizing, but like a raccoon riding on an alligator, or just different animals hanging out. Some of the more wild ones are like random animals getting sucked into tornadoes. Like it'll look like a doorbell camera video, and I've seen alligators, I've seen cats, dogs, and even a horse was the funniest one that I saw. A horse just chilling on the porch and then just gets sucked up into the tornado. Yeah. And then a really oddly common genre is bears waking people up. It'll set up like it's a security camera or something, and some guy's just sleeping on a porch, and a bear will come up and sniff his face and wake him up, and then everybody gets startled and runs away. Another one is a little bit more like scary, right? It's kind of I don't know. It's trying to get your attention and get you to react to it by being scary. And this is these are also kind of silly, but like the animals crashing into houses is pretty common. Animals attacking kids or people is pretty common. To me, that seems like it would be not exactly beneficial, because it could color your perception of like how dangerous animals actually are. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, all the videos that you've described so far have a lot of entertainment value to them, but all of them, even the ones that seem innocuous, like a critter jumping on a trampoline, all of these videos can taint our perception of these animals, because you mentioned the word anthropomorphizing, and so that just basically means projecting human behaviors or characteristics, thoughts, feelings, those sorts of things onto critters, and we see a trampoline as a thing to go jump on and play on, right? And if we start thinking about a rabbit or a black bear wanting to go jump on the trampoline like a human, then that's probably on the lowest scale of that anthropomorphization process. And I think they all of those videos together can really make us or help people shape a opinion or a view of these critters that can make us forget that they're wild, and think of them more like humans or more like our pets and those sorts of things.
The next thing I want to talk about is how to identify when a video is AI.
Yeah.
The thing is, AI is always getting better. It's always improving. As of recording in winter of 2025, Sora 2 is relatively new, and it's really good, but there are still definitely some some tags that you can see, ways that you can identify that it's generated by AI.
Can you tell me what Sora 2 is?
Sora is just the service that people use. So the different ways to identify AI, the most obvious one is if it's labeled. The next thing that I like to think about is, does it make sense, right? So the first way that I look at it, coming from a video perspective, is does the camera angle make sense? A lot of times AI will try to duplicate like a doorbell camera, or a trail cameras are really common because they're kind of lower quality videos. And so just think about where the camera is. Also camera quality. If it's trying to look like a cell phone video, cell phones these days are pretty good. Right, so if it's trying to look like a cell phone video and it's blurry or low quality, or there's a lot of like pixelated stuff, as long as there are times when cell phone video can be pretty bad, but for the most part, cell phone video is going to look pretty good these days. The other thing that just the sanity check, like does it make sense, is the animal behavior. From what I understand, AI is trained a lot on dogs, because we love dogs. We love to video dogs. There's a lot of videos of dogs out there, and so it likes to make animals act like dogs. And also, another thing that I've noticed is people reacting before something happens. In the videos where the animal gets like taken by a bird or something like that, lots of times people will start going, "Oh no," before the bird's even coming. And then animals not fighting like they should. I guess most of us have seen documentaries on Discovery Channel or whatever and you can tell how like a cat is going to fight something, or a dog or anything is how they should like square off and like all that stuff. But a lot of times AI doesn't know what to do there. So it'll just kind of make them fight either like nose to nose or something. It just doesn't look right. So that's probably the most effective way that hopefully will stand the test of time the best, is just, does it make sense?
Yeah.
The last way to identify AI videos is probably the one that's going to age the worst, right? As AI gets better, it's going to get better at hiding these things. The first one is extra limbs during fast action. If you pause a video when an animal's like running or when like a fight is happening, a lot of times it just doesn't make sense, right? Their leg will have an extra knee in it, or they'll have extra limbs or stuff. It'll be all just a mess because it's going fast and AI doesn't know what to do. Yeah. So it just throws a bunch of legs at it.
Gumby's body can't keep up with the speed of the video kind of thing.
Go gadget legs.
Yeah. And I guess like the rolling shutter effect is common for things like airplane propellers or things that are going that fast, but not at the speed of animals. Yeah. It's going to get that. The most easy way for me to identify things quickly right now is the noise on detailed areas. And this, once you kind of see it, you can spot it pretty easily. But there's any like area of the video that's not usually the focal point, but it's like a high detailed area, will have like a static on it, almost like old TV static or something, where it's kind of like moving, but it's not. That's always the first thing I look for, because right now, anyway, that's the easiest way to identify it.
And sometimes it almost just looks like a blurry patch in the background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just got this weird like wiggling to it almost. Mm-hmm. And then the last one that's pretty common to see is textures changing. Again, usually not on like the focal point of the video, but it's like curtains can turn into blinds. Someone's shirt can turn into pants, or just things change as stuff passes in front of them, or different things. And so that's a pretty easy way to just double check and see if something is AI.
I think that it's important too that one of the reasons we're talking about this is that we work really hard as scientists to put out good information and build that trust, right? And so knowing where your videos are coming from and whether there's something that you can trust. Is it verifiable? Looking for the credentials of people that are posting things. Are they trying to get a bunch of views? Are they trying to make money? Or are they trying to get information out there? So, I think there is value in understanding where information's coming from. You mentioned a lot of the ways that you can look at a video and tell. One of the things you can do is look at what is the source, right? Who is posting the information, and is it a trustworthy source? So just another thing to look up for sure.
Yeah, and also like what's their goal? Are they trying to educate people, or are they trying to get clicks or reactions or things like that? Yeah. A lot of times the AI is just trying to get a reaction. They're just trying to get sent to somebody or something like that.
Sure. And we've talked about, how many experts have you met out there, Drew, that are quote unquote experts, but are giving information that's well spirited, but not backed in science, and not, it turns out to be poor information. And that's one of the things that I fight a lot. I'm guessing you do too, but misinformation, and especially with social media these days, it's so easy to, put out information and make it look like it's really high quality that is poor information and helping to sell something or whatever the reason may be. But figuring out what your source is and where that information's coming from, definitely something you want to do. One of the things that I want to make sure we mention is there are uses of artificial intelligence beyond just making videos in science that's useful. And so, I have a project right now that's collected somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 million pictures, right? And so going through all of those images and figuring out, is there a bird in this image or is there not a bird in this image? And that sounds really simple until you start to realize, things like shadows. So different times of day, a shadow, to a computer might look like a bird or might look like a critter. And so we have developed a model that with fairly good accuracy can tell us that there's birds in these images or these videos that we have or not. And so there are times, even in wildlife or in science, that we're using artificial intelligence. There are times where it makes sense probably to make videos that have wildlife in it and entertainment value, right? But understanding where those videos are coming from and that they're not real, I think is part of what we need to do. And I think that artificial intelligence and videos out there, it's only going to get better, right? And so we're going to see these videos more often. I think understanding that they're entertainment, it's really no different than turning on a cartoon or going to a movie. As you're scrolling, if you see something that's crazy with wildlife, just remember it probably is.
Once again, that was part of a Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast episode. If you'd like to hear more about artificial intelligence in wildlife videos, you can do so by following the link in today's show notes on agtoday.net or by searching for Fins, Fur, and Feathers on your favorite podcast platform. We're cutting to a short break, but we'll be right back. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we continue our show discussing the winter canola crop with K-State canola breeder Mike Stamm. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Mike, how did planting go this season?
Well, it's nice to say this year that we had excellent conditions for planting winter canola. And we can't always say that in the Great Plains region, but with the abundant moisture we had over the summer and then kind of continuing into late summer, early fall, it set the stage for making the decision to plant canola easy. And that was a relief to our growers, and it certainly made my job easier with the trials that we put in across the state.
Did it get planted a little early or a little late this year?
It kind of depended on where you were in the state. I would say in northern Kansas, the planting dates were about right on time. And that was really probably the only part of the state where we actually needed some rain to help the crop along. But we did receive that, which we were fortunate there. And I would say central Kansas on into southern Kansas is where we had some planting delays because of too much water, and we had to wait for those fields to dry out before the canola could be planted. But fortunately, we were gifted a very warm October, and so, for instance, some of the crop we planted on October 1st, and we really like to be done by October 1st, if at all possible. But because of the warm October, the crop is able to establish and attain the right amount of top growth that we need in order for it to overwinter.
Are you doing any research this year when it comes to winter canola?
Absolutely. We have a lot of different variety trials out this year. We plant 5 locations in the state, but then I have collaborators in Western Kansas as well that are putting out trials. So in our trials, we're testing a lot of our experimental varieties that could potentially become new varieties for growers in the coming years. We do a lot of testing of the latest commercial varieties that are available. So both open pollinated and hybrid varieties. And as I've talked before on the show, there's a lot of interest growing in hybrid development and growing hybrids here in the Southern Plains. And so that's a very important key moving forward, I think, for this industry in Kansas and the Southern Plains. So we have a number of hybrid trials that we grow, and then we also do contract testing for private industry as well. And so we have a few of those studies as well, and those are very exciting studies to me, because through that collaboration, we'll potentially be bringing new traits to canola growers here in Kansas. A few of those traits include pod shatter tolerance, which is a trait that farmers were really clamoring for at the end of last growing season, and when we encountered some challenges with severe weather during the harvest season. That pod shatter just protects the integrity of the entire crop at the end of the growing season, and that's going to be, I think, a key trait moving forward. So a number of the hybrids that we are evaluating now have that trait available. We are also in collaboration with Bayer Crop Science to introduce the TrueFlex Roundup Ready trait into potential hybrids for this region. And that's actually keeping me very busy, as some of those new products are getting closer to launch, which Bayer announced that will be in 2027. So we're excited to see those new technologies, because we think that broad spectrum herbicide tolerance is critical for canola growers and helping them to clean up their cereal-based cropping system. So lots of exciting things in the pipeline that we hope will have good results this year.
As you continue to advance winter canola and share about the crop, are you seeing more acres planted?
We did. It's hard to put a number exactly on what those acres are going to be, but all indications are that acres will be up both in Kansas and in Oklahoma. And again, that relates to the excellent planting conditions we had and the moisture available. And as you are aware, we continue to partner with Schooler, who has recommissioned the crush facility out in Goodland, and just having that local demand and market has been key in kind of getting this industry kind of back off and running again.
Mike, it's called winter canola. It's named winter canola. Can it get too cold in the winter for winter canola?
Yes, that can happen. And, as I've talked about over the years, we're doing all that we can to improve the winter survivability of this crop. And, I think Kansas State's calling card really has been improving that trait in our germplasm base. And we continue to see strong survival in our materials that we release. And, I can say now, I think pretty confidently that canola can be grown across the entire state of Kansas. And at one point in time, I really didn't feel comfortable saying that, but now I think that's true based on the improvements, not only in our program, but in other material that companies are bringing to our region. As to how cold it needs to be to kill the crop, it's hard to put a finger on what that exact temperature is, because it depends a lot on other factors, including the variety that you grow and what your production practices are. Not over fertilizing, not overseeding. Getting that good stand and establishment, and getting those things in place in order to have the right amount of top growth to get through the winter. So what we don't want to see is negative temperatures over a lengthy period of time on an overly stressed crop. And right now we have good soil moisture. We have a good profile of moisture underneath the crop. We've slowly started to harden this crop off for the winter, and so we're kind of setting the stage now to where the crop is going to be primed for these colder temperature periods coming up. But ask me this winter later on when we have a really cold period and it's been cold for weeks, how I'm feeling, and I'll probably feel a little bit more nervous than what I do right now. Right now, I'm feeling pretty confident in this crop.
When you go look at the crop across the state, are you feeling pretty consistently confident about it?
Yeah, I think so. And again, it goes back to what we had for establishment conditions this fall. But the fields that I've been in and walked across and looked at, they were all in very good shape, leading up to these colder months. So we really kind of have set the stage for a good spring if winter temperatures can cooperate.
Mike, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shelby.
That was Kansas State University canola breeder Mike Stamm. As always, you can keep up to date with this crop and other things related to agronomy by checking out their e-updates at eUpdate.agronomy.ksu.edu. Before we cut to a break, we're now going to be joined by Kansas Wheat's Gordon Clark as he discusses the 2025 U.S. Crop Quality Report for this week's Wheat Scoop.
Quality testing results are in for this year's U.S. hard red winter wheat crop. Global customers will once again be able to purchase good quality wheat that provides high value according to a recently released report by U.S. Wheat Associates. Kansas delivered a strong hard red winter wheat crop in 2025, producing more than 340 million bushels. As timely late spring rains helped fields rebound from earlier drought stress, harvest ran later than normal due to frequent storms, but test weight and falling number concerns proved minimal, and most disease pressures like stripe rust, leaf rust, and wheat streak mosaic virus stayed localized. While protein levels came in slightly lower than recent drought years, overall yield and grain quality across Kansas reflected a resilient crop supported by improved moisture. After the collection and analysis of more than 2,250 samples of wheat collected from coast to coast, U.S. Wheat Associates has officially published the 2025 U.S. Crop Quality Report. The report, which is the 46th issued since 1979, provides essential objective information to help global wheat buyers purchase the wheat they need at the best value possible. The 2025 report is supported by funding from USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service, Export Market Development Programs, and U.S. Wheat's State Wheat Commission members. The report includes class-specific information, starting with samples collected during harvest. Those samples are sent to 6 partner laboratories across the United States who conduct rigorous testing and analysis. The results are then compiled into the Crop Quality Report, which provides grade, non-grade, flour, and specific end product data. For example, this year's report included additional data on sponge cake performance for soft red winter wheat. Overall, across all classes, global buyers will find U.S. wheat to be a consistent and reliable foundational ingredient for wheat-based food products. U.S. Wheat also shares more detailed regional reports for all 6 U.S. wheat classes and Desert Durum on its website. There is also a new standalone document on collection and analysis methods. Find all crop quality reports and related information at uswheat.org/crop quality. For Kansas Wheat, this is Gordon Clark.
You can find more information from Kansas Wheat and learn more about Kansas Wheat by going to their website, kswheat.com. I will link it in today's show notes on agtoday.net. We're cutting to a short break now, but we'll be right back.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on Agriculture Today. Along with Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. We end today's program with this week's milk lines. The Kansas dairy industry is experiencing a significant growth in the number of dairy cattle across the state. K-State dairy specialist Mike Brouk says that most of the expansion is in western Kansas, where a new cheese plant in Dodge City added 37,000 head of dairy cows this year to the 181,000 dairy cows in Kansas at the start of 2025. This week, Mike takes a closer look at the growth of dairy herds and how this benefits local communities as well as the state of Kansas.
Today, I'd like to visit with our Kansas dairy producers concerning some progress we've made here in the state of Kansas when it comes to looking at dairy cow numbers. As I look back through our history here in the state of Kansas, we reached a low point in cow numbers here in the state in 1994 with only 77,000 head of dairy cattle in the state. Over time, we have seen our industry rebuild, and we've seen additions to that number. And by January of 2025, the start of this year, we stood at 181,000 dairy cows in the state. However, during 2025, we've seen a rapid increase in that number. At the end of November, USDA was reporting that Kansas had 218,000 dairy cows, A lot of this expansion has been due to the startup of the new cheese plant in Dodge, and that has resulted in an additional 37,000 dairy cows to be added to our herd just in this year. It's about a 20% increase over the number that we had at the beginning of 2025. So this is a great expansion of our industry and will lead to hopefully many years of successful dairy farming here in the state of Kansas. Some might be asking, so why do people choose to move and build dairy farms here in Kansas? Most of these are located in the western part of the state, although we do see some of our herds on the eastern side of the state expand in smaller numbers as well. What is the attraction to western Kansas? Well, I think really several things. When we sit down and we start planning for our dairy farm, we look at things like the availability of water, availability of feedstuffs, ground available for nutrient management. We also look at what is the labor supply, as dairy farms need a significant amount of labor to operate. As we think about the community, we're looking for an ag-friendly community, and when you think about many of our communities in western Kansas, they are very friendly toward production agriculture, particularly animal agriculture. As we think about the families involved in these dairy operations, our family operations, and many times if they are moving to the state, they're looking for a community for their family. So things like schools and other community activities become very important, and their acceptance within the community is important as well. And finally, one of the things that we have to have is a market for our milk. So as we look at the ability to expand in the future, a lot of that is actually controlled by the availability of a place to deliver raw milk. And with the expansion of the Hillmore plant in Dodge City, we may see some continued growth in our dairy cow numbers as we go into 2026 and then into 2027. But for now, a bright spot in 2025 with the expansion of dairy cow numbers here in the state and the economic activity that surrounds those increased dairy cow numbers will benefit local communities as well as the state of Kansas as we move forward. This is Mike Brouk with K-State Research and Extension.
Thanks, Mike. And this reminder to listen anytime or to catch up on past programs, go to agtoday.net or using a podcast app on your mobile device, type in these search keywords, Agriculture, Today, Kansas, and you'll find this program. Tap the subscribe button, and new episodes of Agriculture Today will automatically arrive on your device. And that'll do it for this edition of Agriculture Today. For Shelby Varner, I'm Jeff Wickman. This is the K-State Radio Network.